When I was a kid, I was poor, but I didn't know I was. It wasn't until I grew up and moved away from these mountains that I even knew that there was such a thing, and that it was me. Poor folk lived back in the hollers and got up early to go to work in restaurants and hotels in town. Poor folk drove old cars, and they worked on them in their driveways to keep them running. Poor folk lived in trailers, and poor kids played with old toys in muddy yards. Daddy worked pumping gas and checking oil and tire pressures for tourists at Tinker's service station in town. He did that in the daytime. In the evenings, he drove his old car all the way to Greenville to take night classes at Tusculum College. He wanted to be an architect. We never had too much money, but I never knew that. I was always satisfied. I never went to bed hungry, and there never was a thing I wanted so bad that I couldn't have, because I never really wanted anything except what I had. We always had enough growing up, and if we didn't have enough, we fixed it by wanting less. I don't ever remember staying up at night wishing. And it wasn't just the times I was raised in either, because I remember the kids who lived in town talking about everything they wanted. They talked about everything they wanted all the time, and everything they wanted was always a lot more than everything they had, especially at Christmas time. Everything was bicycles and Castle Grayskulls and Optimus Primes and Thundercats and Millennium Falcons. I never knew what I wanted for Christmas until Christmas morning. And what I wanted was always what Mama and Daddy went and got me. And they always went as far as they could. One year, Daddy told me that Santa Claus had hired him to help make presents. Santa was really backed up at the North Pole, and he knew how handy Daddy was at making things, and would Daddy like to help him out? Daddy said he told him he'd be happy to. Then Daddy asked me if I'd like to help him help out Santa. Of course I did. For about a week after that, we'd work on presents. Daddy got off at about 3 in the afternoon, and he'd pick me up at school, and we'd drive down to Cousin Lum's woodworking shop, and we'd work for an hour or two every evening. We were real hush-hush about it with Mama and my sister, like real little elves. Daddy was building Mama a rocking chair. He was building my sister a kid-sized rocking chair, just like Mama's. While he worked on these, I worked on my own presents. I went through Lum's scrap pile and found pieces of wood and built a key rack for Mama. I built a little wooden doll for my sister. Christmas morning, we had them all racked up and under the tree. And on the labels, we had the words from Santa Claus, Daddy, and Donnie. But Mama knew, and so did my sister. Santa always came to our holler every year, in his own way. When Mama looked at her rocking chair, you would have thought she was seeing the Hope Diamond. And my sister ran into her bedroom and brought out an armful of dolls and wanted to try them all out in her new rocking chair. And when Mama saw what I had made with my own hands, she cried. And we watched them, Daddy and I. And I never once thought about the fact that I didn't have a present. I didn't even notice it until Daddy told me to go look in the utility room. He said he thought maybe Santa had left something in there. I went in and found the red wooden toolbox with my name on it. Daddy had made it when I wasn't paying attention. But the toolbox wasn't the best thing. The best thing was the toolbox was filled with tools. Daddy had gone to an auction and bought me a bunch of old tools. They were the real things too, not toys. And they were good tools. They had known wood. And I pulled them out, one by one, and felt the weight of them in my hands. Ran my fingers over their edges, imagined all the great and glorious things I could build with them. And that was a good Christmas. That was the best Christmas. That Christmas when hands and sweat took the place of money, and Santa Claus was real, and there wasn't a thing in the world that wasn't in that little living room on that little Christmas morning. If you enjoyed this story, please consider dropping a tip in the tip jar. If you like original stories set in Appalachia, please consider subscribing and ringing the bell for notification. Thank you kindly for your time.